portal shimmered in soft greens and silvers as Clora and Omega stepped through, arriving back in Alfheim. The air was different here, charged with ancient magic that seemed to hum through the trees and whisper through the crystal-clear streams. Omega padded quietly beside her, his ears perked and his gaze alert, already attuned to the natural energies flowing around them. His presence was both grounding and empowering, a constant reminder of their bond and the shared journey they were on. Aeliana Vale awaited them, standing with her staff planted firmly into the lush, vibrant soil. Her serene yet powerful gaze softened as Clora approached. "Welcome back, Clora. I sense you and Omega grow stronger with each visit. This connection will serve you well in the coming lessons." Clora inclined her head respectfully. "Thank you, Aeliana. It's good to be back. The lessons here, they've given me a clarity I hadn't known I was missing." Aeliana nodded, gesturing toward the grove ahead, where a faint, shimmering veil of energy seemed to part, revealing an ancient stone structure, a secluded study hall reserved for the most profound of elven teachings. Clora felt a faint pulse through her spirit as they entered, a sensation akin to crossing into a different plane. "Today we begin a new chapter," Aeliana began, her voice low and contemplative. "We will explore the realms that have been severed from the rest, those that have been sealed away, including Nythoria." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. Clora exchanged a glance with Omega, who seemed to sense the gravity of the lesson, his hackles slightly raised. "Sealed realms," Clora repeated. "What are they like? What happens to a realm once it's closed off?" Aeliana's expression turned solemn. "When a realm is sealed, it's usually because something within it has become too dangerous, too unstable, or has threatened the balance between worlds. Over time, a sealed realm can become isolated, even warped, by the very forces it was meant to contain. Left unchecked, it can turn into something twisted, sometimes beyond recognition." As she spoke, Aeliana waved her hand over the stone table between them. It flickered, revealing ethereal, swirling images of realms Clora had only ever heard whispered about. She saw visions of lands plagued by shadow, twisted forests, and cities overtaken by ethereal fire, each a cautionary tale of realms sealed to prevent their darkness from spilling into others. Clora leaned closer, her heart racing as a vision of Nythoria appeared. A land veiled in darkness, its once vibrant landscapes dimmed, its rivers reflecting a foreboding crimson under a perpetually twilight sky. "This is Nythoria, isn't it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Aeliana confirmed. "The sealed realm of Nythoria was once a land of beauty and prosperity, but darkness spread within, one that could not be contained by conventional means. It became infected, you might say, with a force so dangerous that the Guardians chose to isolate it rather than allow it to consume the realms around it." The weight of Nythoria's history settled heavily on Clora's shoulders, a dark connection tying her back to her pack and Karina. She turned to Aeliana, her mind racing with questions. Is there ever a way back from that? Can realms that are sealed be saved? Aeliana's gaze was piercing as she replied, "Only if those who belong to it, those with ties deep enough to its essence, are willing to face the darkness at its root. But such a task is never simple, nor is it safe. Only those with the strongest bonds and the purest resolve stand a chance at restoring what was lost. Otherwise, the realm remains as it is, a perpetual shadow in the tapestry of worlds." Omega let out a low growl, as if sensing Clora's unease. She absently placed a hand on his fur, drawing strength from his steady presence. "It sounds a lot like the journey Karina's on. She has that bond, and she's facing that darkness. She's been going through more than I realized." Aeliana's expression softened. "Indeed, Clora. And just as she faces her realm's past, you too will face your own connection to these forces. Your training is not just about learning to defend against supernatural threats. It's about understanding the very essence of balance and power. Only by understanding the darkness can you hope to protect against it. Clora felt a new resolve building within her. The path before her was daunting, but it was one she was determined to walk. She nodded firmly, her hand still resting on Omega. I'm ready. Whatever I can learn here, however I can help her, I'm ready to do it. Omega gave a gentle but affirming nudge, as if echoing her sentiment. Aeliana watched them both, a faint smile gracing her lips. Then let us begin. This is just the first step of a journey that, if fate allows, may intertwine with hers in ways neither of you yet understand. The training ground shimmered in the soft morning light, a serene field nestled deep in Alfheim's ancient forests. Aeliana stood at its edge, her form graceful and commanding, watching as Clora and Omega approached. As always, Omega padded close to Clora, the massive dire wolf radiating a quiet strength that matched his bond with her. Clora lifted her staff, feeling the familiar hum of magic coursing through it. She nodded respectfully to Aeliana, who smiled, her piercing blue eyes filled with both encouragement and expectation. Clora, Aeliana began, her voice calm yet authoritative. I would like you to demonstrate the techniques you've learned so far with the Staff of Light. Show me how it has become an extension of yourself. Clora nodded and took a stance, planting her feet firmly on the ground. With practiced precision, she spun the staff, the movement flowing seamlessly into a series of hand-to-hand motions she had honed through months of intense training. The staff whirled and struck as if it were part of her very being, moving from defensive blocks to offensive strikes with ease. Clora knew each movement, each shift in weight, each precise angle. Omega watched her intently, his gaze flicking to Aeliana as if he sensed the weight of this moment. Good, Aeliana praised, her voice unwavering. Now show me your light shield. Clora stilled her body, focused her breath, and summoned her energy. She drew her mind inward, feeling the power within the staff respond. A bright shield of light formed in front of her, shimmering with a radiant, almost tangible energy. Omega leaned forward slightly, instinctively sensing the energy radiating from Clora. Aeliana nodded, her gaze softening with approval. And now, the blinding light. With a flick of her wrist, Clora activated the staff's blinding light ability, releasing a sudden, intense burst of brightness. The glow filled the training ground, momentarily overpowering the natural light. Aeliana shielded her eyes briefly before looking back, her expression contemplative. Well done, Aeliana said, her voice rich with pride. You have mastered the essentials of the Staff of Light. But, as with many elven artifacts, it holds greater potential, waiting for one who is worthy and prepared to unlock it. Clora straightened, curiosity piquing her as Aeliana's words hung in the air. What more can the staff do? Aeliana walked forward, her fingers lightly grazing the staff's surface. The engraved runes glowed faintly, responding to her touch. With practice, the Staff of Light can project its radiance into a focused beam, harnessing the very essence of light itself. This beam is more than just a weapon. It is a channel of life and truth. Used properly, it can both defend and destroy, depending on the will and strength of its wielder. Clora's grip tightened, the idea of wielding such a powerful force settling heavily on her shoulders. What would it take for me to learn this skill? Patience, Aeliana replied, and a deep understanding of both yourself and the light within you. Light has a way of revealing all truths, even those we may prefer to leave hidden. To command such a beam, you must possess absolute focus. The light will amplify your intentions and emotions. Any distraction, any doubt, could cause it to become volatile. Clora glanced at Omega, who seemed to sense her hesitation. His gaze was calm but supportive, an anchor to steady her thoughts. She turned back to Aeliana, determination flickering in her hazel eyes. "I'm ready to learn," Clora stated firmly. Aeliana nodded, a glimmer of pride visible in her eyes. "Very well. Let's begin with controlled energy channeling. You will focus on narrowing the light from a shield form to a more concentrated line." Taking a deep breath, Clora brought the staff before her, focusing on the energy she usually spread wide to create the light shield. She directed it forward, attempting to narrow the stream, but the light wavered and dissipated before it could take form. Frustration tugged at her, but she steadied her breath, recalling Aeliana's words about patience. Omega moved to her side, nudging her gently as if to remind her of his presence, his loyalty. Clora took comfort in his silent support, feeling a renewed sense of calm. She closed her eyes, reaching deep within herself, tapping into a quiet inner strength that had guided her through countless challenges. Slowly, she attempted the technique once more. A small, focused beam of light projected from the staff's end, faint but steady. It was fragile, like a thread of moonlight, yet powerful in its own way. Clora's heart raced with the thrill of newfound ability, but she remained focused, stabilizing the beam until it burned steadily. "Excellent," Aeliana praised, her voice warm with approval. "With time, you will learn to increase the beam's intensity and to use it with precision. Remember, Clora, it's not the power alone but the wisdom in wielding it that will make you a true alpha." As the beam faded, Clora felt a surge of pride and purpose. This was not just about strength. It was about discipline, focus, and a deep connection to her role within the pack. She exchanged a determined glance with Omega, silently affirming their shared mission. Aeliana stepped back, hands clasped in approval. "Tomorrow we'll continue refining your control. For now, let yourself rest and reflect on what you've achieved." As Clora and Omega left the training ground, the weight of her new skill settled on her, along with a heightened sense of responsibility. She knew that what she was learning in Alfheim was not only for herself, but for the pack, and perhaps, as her studies of closed realms would soon reveal, for something even greater. Clora took a deep breath, the scent of Alfheim's untouched nature filling her senses. The land here felt different from Earth in a way she found both grounding and mystifying, as if everything carried a memory of the world's beginnings. Omega trotted beside her, his paws silent on the mossy ground as they ventured deeper into the heart of the elven realm. Alfheim stretched out before them in a vibrant landscape of towering trees, whose branches tangled to create canopies of shimmering green and gold. Ethereal lights, like floating stars, hovered in pockets between tree trunks, illuminating their path. Clora marveled at these lights, realizing they were will-o-wisps, subtle guides of this ancient world. Occasionally, Omega would pause, his nose lifting as he caught a new scent. His blue eyes glinted with curiosity, and Clora couldn't help but smile, realizing how young he truly was despite his formidable lineage. As they moved through a patch of wildflowers that glistened with morning dew, Clora noticed a faint, melodic hum drifting through the air. She followed the sound, entranced, until she saw a series of small stone statues carved from ancient rock. They were arranged in a circle, each statue representing a different creature from Alfheim, with symbols etched into their bases. The hum was coming from the stones themselves, resonating in a low, ancient chant. "What do you think, Omega?" she murmured, crouching beside one of the statues. It depicted a proud stag, its head lowered as if in a stance of both respect and strength. Omega gave a soft growl of approval, his ears flicking as he looked up at her. She felt his emotions through their bond, a feeling of reverence and respect for the history that Alfheim held. In her time here, she had come to understand the sacredness of Alfheim's landscapes, how they were woven with powerful energies that even her heightened senses could barely grasp. They continued, finding themselves at the edge of a vast lake. Its water was so clear that she could see the silvery stones at the bottom, reflecting the sky in perfect detail. A strange creature, a serpentine figure with shimmering scales that mirrored the sunlight, rose briefly to the surface, its eyes meeting Clara's before it disappeared back into the depths. The experience left Clora both humbled and invigorated. These were places that had not been tainted by conflict, lands where the balance of magic and nature was still honoured. She found herself gaining a new understanding of her role as Alpha, not only as a protector of her team, but as a guardian of balance. Omega nuzzled her hand, and she felt a shared determination between them. Their journey in Alfheim was not just about learning or strengthening their abilities, but about honouring the balance between strength and compassion, magic and nature. Clora took one last look at the lake, feeling a quiet resolution settle over her. "Come on, Omega," she said softly, a renewed strength in her voice. "We have much to learn." The two walked back toward Aeliana's sanctuary, ready to embrace the challenges ahead, knowing that each step here was a part of a legacy much larger than either of them alone. As the evening sky settled over Alfheim, Clora found herself in one of the quiet, shaded gardens surrounding Aeliana's estate, Omega resting by her side. The air was fresh with the fragrance of night-blooming flowers, and the soft luminescence of the stars cast a gentle glow over the landscape. The evening was calm, yet Clora felt an undercurrent of anticipation. She knew that her studies were just the beginning of the journey ahead, and tonight she hoped to learn more about Aeliana, the elf who had become her mentor and guide in the mystical arts. Aeliana soon approached, her robes whispering along the path as she took a seat beside Clora. Her expression held a tranquil depth, but Clora could sense the vast stories and memories behind her mentor's calm gaze. "Tell me more about you, Aeliana," Clora began softly, her voice hushed. "Not just the realms and magic, but yourself. How did you come to be here, guiding us and bridging these worlds?" Aeliana's expression softened. Her eyes, as deep and blue as the evening sky, seemed to reflect distant memories as she considered the question. After a moment, she began, her voice carrying a quiet strength. "Long ago, I wasn't so different from you now," Aeliana started, her tone gentle but laced with a gravity Clora hadn't expected. "A protector, a guardian of the realms and a warrior against the darkness that tries endlessly to seep in. My duty had always been to maintain balance, but there were moments when even I couldn't anticipate the path ahead." Her gaze turned toward the sky, as if she could still see the battles that had marked her journey. "One such moment," she continued, "was when I encountered Ultranacious Eternus, the Demon King. He was unlike any adversary I had faced. His power was not just of brute force, but of cunning and corruption, and he wielded darkness as if it were an extension of himself. I fought him to protect Alfheim and to prevent his reach from spilling into other realms." Clora leaned in, captivated, her hazel eyes widening slightly as Aeliana's words painted a vivid image of the battle. "The fight was grueling," Aeliana said, her voice lowering as she recalled the clash. "He held power over the shadows, manipulating them to his advantage, twisting the very air with malice. We clashed across the battleground, and though I managed to defeat him, his darkness left a wound that did not heal easily. I was gravely injured, my magic drained to near death." Clora couldn't help but feel a shiver run through her. The toll that battle had taken was clear in Aeliana's voice, even all these years later. "It was then, in my weakened state, that I stumbled upon a portal I didn't intend to create. It pulled me into your world. Earth, disoriented, injured, and unable to conceal my true form. And it was there that I met Gunner." Aeliana smiled, a glint of something unspoken in her eyes. "I was so weakened, and he was so determined. a warrior in his own right. "Gunner found you?" Clora asked softly, leaning closer. "What happened then?" Aeliana's expression grew warmer, a soft light of remembrance flickering in her gaze. "Yes." He sensed the disturbance when I arrived, saw through my attempts to conceal my injuries, and chose to protect me. Even as he saw the truth of who I was, he didn't fear me. He offered me shelter, helped me heal. Gunner and we understood each other. Two protectors, each carrying their own scars. As she spoke, Clora felt a deeper sense of respect blossom within her. The connection between Aeliana and Gunner wasn't merely professional. It was rooted in a shared resilience, an understanding forged in battles and hardships. "Over time, he taught me about your world," Aeliana continued, "and I offered him insight into the realms beyond it. We became an alliance, blending our strengths. He vouched for me when the agency doubted me, trusted me. It was through his unwavering support that I found a place among Echo Division. Together, we defended realms, shared knowledge, and fought against forces that sought to disrupt the balance." Clora nodded, feeling a weight in her chest at the bond they shared. She knew Gunner to be fiercely loyal and protective, and it was clear he and Aeliana had formed a bond that went beyond words. "He's never spoken much of that time," Clora said quietly, "but I can see now why he trusts you. And I understand more of the cost that comes with standing between realms, bearing the weight of protection." Aeliana reached out, placing a gentle hand on Clora's. "You are doing the same, Clora. You stand as a bridge between Earth and the realms, just as I once did. This role is not an easy one, but it is a calling that few understand and even fewer can fulfill. Your strength, your bond with Omega, your loyalty to Gunner and the Pack, they all place you on a path where you may face similar choices." Clora looked down at Omega, her heart swelling with pride and a touch of fear. "I'm honoured to follow this path, but hearing your story reminds me of the gravity of our work. It's one thing to know our mission, but another to feel it like this." Aeliana nodded, a knowing glimmer in her eyes. "Remember, Clora, you are not alone in this journey. Just as Gunner stood by me, you have those who stand beside you. This pack you lead with him. They are family, and family strengthens the bonds we carry into every battle." The night settled around them as Clora held Aeliana's words close, feeling the weight and the pride of her role as Alpha. She knew that the path she walked was one of sacrifice and honour, one that connected her to a legacy of protectors, to a history interwoven with the challenges and resilience of those who came before. As the stars shone down on them, Clora felt her connection to her pack, to Aeliana, and to Gunner deepen. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead, strengthened by the stories and sacrifices of those who had shaped her path.
"Well, you found your way to the end, haven't you? That must mean you're curious, and we love curiosity around here. Before you vanish into the ether, take a moment to subscribe. It's just a click, and trust me, you'll want to stay in the loop for what comes next. And while you're at it, give the video a like. The energy exchange is good for you. Hit that notification bell too. You wouldn't want to miss out on any of our magical misadventures. Who knows what I might conjure up next. Alright, off you go. But remember, I'll know if you didn't subscribe. See you on the other side.